Hey everyone, we see honeybees buzzing around all the time, right? But have you ever really stopped to think about what they're eating? It's not as simple as just flowers. It's actually a secret, year-long feast that changes with every single season. And today, we're going to follow along and see what's on the menu. Let's dive in.
Seriously, it's a great question. When a bee heads out of the hive, what's on its shopping list? Well, it turns out that a healthy hive needs a super varied diet. Kind of like a floral buffet that looks completely different in the middle of summer than it does in the dead of winter.
I want you to think of the entire landscape, every flower, every shrub, every tree, as one giant pantry for the bees. Their very survival depends on this pantry being stocked all year. But what are the main items they're looking for? It all boils down to two essential things.
So what are these two crucial foods? Okay, first up, you've got nectar. This is all carbohydrates. It's the sugary fuel that powers every single flight, every little waggle dance. It's basically their energy drink. And then you have pollen. This is all protein, and it's absolutely vital for raising the next generation of bees and for the growth of the whole colony. The bottom line is, they need both. It's not an either-or thing, it's a package deal.
All right, let's start at the beginning of the year. For a honeybee colony, spring is like the grand reopening of that pantry after a long, tough winter. And believe me, everything hinges on what they can find in these first few months.
Just try to picture what it's like inside that hive. The number of bees has dropped way down, their food supplies are almost gone, and the queen, she's ready to start laying thousands of eggs a day. But she can't do that without food. So the whole colony is just waiting, on edge, for that very first wave of flowers to bloom.
And here they are, the first responders. Plants like anise, fennel, and neem are absolute heroes for the hive. And why is that? Because they offer both nectar and pollen. They deliver that perfect 1-2 punch of carbs and protein that lets the colony hit the ground running, rebuilding its strength and feeding a whole new generation of bees.
But a good pantry needs variety, right? So here you've got plants that are more like specialists. Buddleja, for example, is just a fantastic source of pure energy, nothing but nectar. And on the flip side, anemone and mint are pollen powerhouses, providing all that critical protein to raise the young. It's this exact kind of diversity that gives the hive the balanced diet it needs to really explode in population.
And after that successful spring, the hive just bursts into its busiest season, summer. This is when the pantry is absolutely overflowing. The workforce is at its all-time high, and the mission is really simple. Collect everything you possibly can.
The summer buffet is officially open, and it is packed with these all-in-one powerhouses. We're talking about plants like chestnut, purslane, and marjoram. They offer the complete package. You get the high-octane fuel from the nectar, and you get the muscle-building protein from the pollen. It's everything the colony needs to get through its most demanding season.
Now, what's summer without honey production? This is where the nectar specialists really shine. Plants like caraway, thyme, and the sidra tree, these guys are famous for producing tons of nectar. The forager bees will work these flowers like crazy, bringing back all that sugary liquid that's going to become the colony's golden energy stores for the winter. And of course, we can't forget the marathon bloomers. A plant like basil is just incredible, providing food from spring all the way through autumn. Eucalyptus and rose also have these really long blooming periods. These are the reliable long-term food sources that form the backbone of the pantry, bridging that gap between the peak of summer and the leaner months ahead.
But, the feast doesn't last forever. As that golden light of summer starts to fade, the whole colony feels the shift. The pantry's bounty begins to thin out, and a new, much more urgent mission begins: the final harvest.
So now we're entering the most critical time of the year. Autumn is that last-ditch effort to top off the winter stores. And winter is the ultimate test of all their hard work and preparation. Now, survival is the only thing that matters. At this point, every single drop of nectar and every last grain of pollen counts. Autumn bloomers like acacia, bauhinia, and carob provide those final, absolutely vital resources. These are the plants that let the bees pack away the very last of their winter food, making sure the colony is as fat and happy as possible before the cold really sets in.
Now, foraging in the winter? It sounds impossible, but some plants are true lifesavers. On a milder winter day, if the bees can get out, they might find a precious meal from a casuarina or jacana. And wild mustard can provide a rare but crucial burst of protein.
Look, these aren't feasts by any stretch, but they can be just enough to get the colony through a really harsh spell. They are, quite literally, a lifeline.
So after seeing this whole year play out through a bee's eyes, the big question becomes, what can we do to help? How can we make sure that pantry is always stocked? The great news is we can all play a role in this.
You know, it really just boils down to these 4 simple ideas. First, try to aim for continuous blooms, something flowering in every season, to keep that pantry open all year. Second, plant a really rich variety of things to give them a balanced diet. Third, prioritize those powerhouse plants that offer both nectar and pollen. And finally, and this might be the most important one, don't forget about autumn and winter. Planting for those lean seasons can honestly be the difference between a colony that just struggles to survive and one that truly thrives.
And that's the final thought I want to leave you with. It doesn't matter if you have a huge garden or just a little box on a windowsill. Every single flower counts. Now that you're thinking about the seasons and what the bees really need, you have the power to add a brand new, life-saving item to their pantry. The only question left is, what's it going to be?